Good morning, everybody. I'm Vijay Kumar KV, Department of English, Government First Aid College, Bopajinagar, Shimoga. Today, I would like to give an introduction to 17th century literary background and literary terms. History of English literature is not only the chronological study of literature and writers, but also the study of the nature and value of the literature. Some writers were popular to represent their age. The taste and interest of the age is not constant as it changes from time to time. The changing interest of the people is represented by the literature of the age. Therefore, some ages are named after the influential persons. It may be writers, king, or queens, or the themes of the age. For example, the Renaissance period, age of Shakespeare, Victorian era, etc. The 17th century is broadly comes under the title Neoclassical Age. As the age, as the people are interested in the classical literature, they imitated the Greek and Roman authors in composing works. They wanted to bring order and decorum in the literature of classical literature. Two great works, Aristotle's Poetics, Horace's Art of Poetry, have influenced greatly on neoclassical literature. From the time frame of 1660 to 1785 is classified as neoclassical period, which began with the 17th century and extended up to 18th century. The early part is called as Jacobean era and continued until the Carolingian, Androgen, and Restoration periods. The literature produced in this period cannot be divided into watertight compartments. Broadly, they are named after the rulers of the time. The political life of 17th century. After Queen Elizabeth, James I of Scotland ascended to throne. The new Stuart dynasty established in England as the end of Tudor dynasty. Scotland, Ireland, and England got united under the rule of King James I. He successfully ruled for 22 years, but faced many conflicts in England like gunpowder plot. He had differences with the parliament also. Being a great scholar, he encouraged the artists and appointed them as kingsmen. The great writers like William Shakespeare, John Donne, Ben Jonson, and Francis Bacon flourished under his rule. After King first, after King James I, Charles I comes to power. His region of rule is known as the Carolingian Age. He faced internal conflict in the England. There was a clash between the king and the parliament, so he dismissed the parliament for 11 years. The financial crisis, which was created by the civil war, continued for a long time. His rule and reforms were ended with his execution. After Charles I's execution, Charles II comes to power. The the restoration of the throne had brought additional confidence in the country. Old practices of religion and administration were brought back. Restrictions on the public were cancelled. Theatres and public places resumed to work. The social and cultural life of England. King James I believed in supreme power, that is, divine rights of king. He exhibited his power according to this belief. Under his stable governance, England flourished to a greater heights. He encouraged artists and writers. He supervised in producing the James version of Bible and authored many books and pamphlets. Under the Union of Crowns, England initiated to extend its frontier in abroad, especially in America. The financial crisis arose after the age of Queen Elizabeth. It continued and created differences of opinion between king and the parliament on financial issues. He dissolved the parliament for a short span and ruled without it. In the field of religion also, he tried to bring uniformity in the three regions, which created unrest in the society. The crisis, which began at the time of James I, continued and increased under the rule of Charles I. The civil wars in Scotland, England, and Ireland had an extra burden on the monarchy. On the one side of the financial crisis, and on the other side, the differences between the Puritans and Anglican disturbed the peaceful environment. The Restoration period began with the crowning of Charles II. He brought stability in the religion, society, and politics. He had harmonious relationship with the parliament. The two parties, Tories and Whigs, emerged at this time. He tried to dissolve the issues between Protestant and Puritans. Aristocratic class lost their prominence as the middle class gained importance. Liberal ideas of the Charles II gave him permission to reopen theatres and resume creative work. The people wanted to come out of the Puritan boredom and express it in comedy. The literary life of 17th century. The literary production of the times is influenced by the great unrest in the society, religion and politics. As the century is divided into three parts, the literary production of the times also studied accordingly. In the Jacobean period, literature themes of Elizabethan literature continued. Satire dominated the literary form of this time. The poets satirized the moral corruption, vice, and lustful life of the people. The literature acted as social commentary to the virtuous life. The poets and writers like Shakespeare are regarded and appointed as kingsmen. The plays of this time centered on morals. They aimed at the psychology of the individuals in this place. Shakespeare, Marlowe, and Ben Jonson have contributed to this form of literature. Totally, the influence of Puritans can be traced in the literature of this period. The colonial period was filled with tension and unrest. The difference between the Puritans and King had influence on the creative art. The poems, fiction, or prose written at the time has got a touch of science to religion. The poets like Herbert, Russia, and others are the representative poets. Ultimately, the Restoration period was successful in establishing stability in the society. Relaxation in the social and religious norms encouraged comedy, which is popularly known as Restoration comedy. Satire was the main genre to criticize Puritan imagination. The establishment of royal society encouraged reasoning and rationality among the readers. Literature of 17th century. Literature of 17th century is studied under three parts. First one, the Revolution literature. Revolution literature was represented by the two prominent writers, John Milton and John Bunyan. John Milton represents the influence of Puritans on the English society. He took part in the Civil War. He supported the Puritans of Parliament and written pamphlets for the reformation of the church. After losing his eyesight at the age of 44, he completed two long poems, Paradise Lost and Paradise Regained. John Bunyan is a well known for his remarkable work, Pilgrim's Progress. It is an allegorical work about the faith and salvation. Second one, metaphysical and cavalier poets. Metaphysical poets are divided under the model of John Donne. The other writers are Jar Robert, Andrew Marvell, Henry Vaughan, Richard Crashaw, written in the same style. Metaphysical poets are stand apart from other writers by combining the emotion with the intellectual creativity. They combine them by using a poetical device called conceit and wit. They also used irony and paradox to convey their message to the reader. A metaphysical writer has written both the amorous and religious poems. Cavalier poetry is originated by Ben Jonson, Robert Herrick, Thomas Crabbe, Robert Lovelace, Sir John Suckling have written in this tradition. They are called the son of Bun. Their writing are popular for witty and lyrical style. Restoration literature. Restoration literature. Restoration literature has tried to come out of the Puritan seriousness and sobriety. The wit and satire are used to mock the pretensions of the aristocratic and Puritans. The ban on the theatres are revoked to encourage the artistic qualities of the writers, but the theatres are reserved for the aristocratic class. The writers like John Dryden, William Congreve, and others developed a new type of comedy of manners, which is well known as restaurant comedy. They also developed a distinctive type of tragedy, that is heroic drama. Popular literary terms of 17th century. Satire. Satire is the popular form of literature used in 17th century. Writers find pleasure and duty in satirical writings. Political satires are very popular at the time. Wicks and Tories used this form extensively in their political writings. Rhetoric. Rhetoric form of writing is popularized by Francis Bacon. He gave a scientific touch to the heroic rhetoric through his popular essays. Essays. Essay writing is popularly adopted by 17th century scholars. Essays are used to educate people their social manners, politeness, morals, and life skills. All these sectors of society are used in essay form extensively to convey their message. Character. Character writing is a new genre developed in 17th century. A brief and witty description of the person is given in character sketches. They are usually socially and morally model persons. Usually, it is a short description of the individuals. Biography. Character writing encouraged biography writing, which evolved into new heights in 18th century. Elegy. Elegy writing is also popularized in 17th century. Many writers many writers have written elegies. John Donne has also written on elegies. Epistle. Epistolary form of writing is used in other forms of literature like poetry. Ben Jonson experimented in his writing. Wit. Wit is the dominating factor in metaphysical poetry. There are more than 20 types of wits are identified. Epigrams. Epigrams are widely used in literature of the 17th century. Religious epigrams are very popular at this time. Richard Crashaw is a popular in his epigram. Session summary. The session focuses on social, political, and religious influence on the life of the people, and literature is discussed. It also concentrates on the literary forms reflected the society in 17th century. Dear students, for the further reference, you can refer David Deutsch's A Critical History of English Literature, Nair K. Pramod, A Short History of English Literature, Hudson, An Outline History of English Literature. Thank you.